Alrighty, welcome everyone to Highness Talk, the royal podcast where we are here to talk about health, wealth, well-being, and all of this stuff that's in a pot making this life cray-cray.
Like
that was terrible. Like
no,
this
I like
cray-cray,
that.
like this intro.
No, please keep it.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay,
We're
good.
bringing the energy.
Yep.
As long as y'all like it, that's all I care about. So in this episode, we are getting into the ego and some other things. What that looks like, what it entails. Also, kind of just want to do a quick recap. Our last episode was over reparenting. It was reparenting part 2. Make sure you watch that video and then come back and watch this one. That'd be great.
Thank you.
We went over, what did we go over? Self-care and
emotional regulation
and joy.
Discipline, joy.
Yes, those were the 4 pillars that we went over, and I loved talking about it. How self-care just brings it all together, kind of like the glue of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into the challenge a little bit later in this episode, but we really want to just dive right in with the ego. And what is that? What is it?
Does anybody want to say their particular point of view first? Or we can go around and share what that looks like or means to each of us.
Mm-hmm. So,
for myself personally, I believe that we come into this world as a child and we have things that are happening to us, and we develop a protective defense mechanism to keep us safe, to keep us from feeling hurts, traumas, all of those things that we come into the world so pure, and then things happen and we don't want to feel that again. So we create this narrative in our mind, to me, which is the ego, to try to protect us.
mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree. Like, literally, like, what I wrote down, I was like, can't talk about that. Can't talk about... Like, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I agree. I also would say, with the ego, it's also like how, and you already tapped on it, but what we perceive to be acceptance. So the ego creates that layer, like you said, of protection, so that we can feel more accepted by people, or we know what works for our personality. Like we assume a role almost that this is what's going to work and lead me into positive ways so that I don't get hurt anymore. I feel like that's also like a way I look at it as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember taking psychology in high school because I wanted a sociology. Well, I wanted to just explore that. Don't know how much of my calling that was.
I loved sociology and anthropology. Those were like my favorite.
I didn't get into sociology until college, and I did not care for that class at all. So nah. But so for me, when I do hear ego, I definitely think of, the paradigm that you're most attached to keep yourself protected from going through those traumas again, going through that level of hurt again. And I also remember it as like that place in you that's like deep inside, brain, heart, soul, what have you, that would love to respond in what society deems as negative.
Right.
That would just love to just take over and just like that animalistic side of you. Because what's it called? Oh yeah, because the ego, I'm trying to remember. It has like 2 parts kind of. You have your ego, which in science is yourself, self, and then the id is a part of.
Oh, I remember that.
You remember now.
Yeah, like, wow.
The id, I know. And that's that, just like that little bit of evil everybody has, but yin yang.
What's interesting is when I think about ego before, like I went through my spiritual awakening, and I was just like a person that didn't think about what an ego was or, you know, anything. I used to just think it was a quality that meant that you like were overly confident,
like prideful.
You
very
have an
prideful.
ego.
Like, you know, I only heard it where it's like
ego.
Yeah, so I never really thought of it as like a part of me, actually. I just thought it was a characteristic people had. Like, just thinking about it, like, before everything and looking at what does it mean. And, you know, it was very surface level to me that it's just a characteristic people are, not something I have inside me. Because I considered myself, which may come off egotistical, but I considered myself to be quite humble, so it's like it's not something I associated with myself ever until I started doing my, like, you know, awakening myself to like what was really happening to me, and then now I see it in the way that I'm saying it. But previous, I just thought, oh, that person has such an ego. Not, it's what's inside. So,
yeah, it took a while for it to, because I've had that separation between, well, I had the definition, I'll say that instead, that ego is self, me, right here. But coming around to learning that it's this paradigm that
It's separate.
Yeah, I didn't different, like, so before it, and I think that's a hard thing. We don't even, it's hard to recognize when it's a part of you, but it was never described to me as it's a part of who I am. It's not educated that way. For me, it wasn't, anyways. So it was educated as like just a thing I heard about people, a way to describe someone. So I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, interesting. Because I thought, I'm like, wait, what did I think previous to this? I never thought of it. Never came into mind.
Yeah, like you said, it was always just like if somebody was egotistical, it was just like they were like arrogant, pompous, type of thing. But learning about it, what
pompous?
I know that's
It's
why
just
I threw
like,
it in there.
it does sound nice. That man walking down the street had said, no, it doesn't work. No, right. It's such a pomp.
He was so pompous.
Never mind.
But so with that, I believe that your ego is created. And so a lot of people also don't touch on the subconscious that goes into it. Like when you're young, right, and you're around your aunties, your cousins, your family, and they're having these conversations, political, relationship-wise, all of their opinions and all of the things that they're talking about and saying, viewpoints, that gets taken into us and absorbed, and it gets stored into our subconscious and becomes a part of our identification with our ego. What we think is right, what we think is wrong, you know, what we think is acceptable. These are the ways we love people. This is the way you show love. All of that is learned and created through what we're taking in.
Yeah.
Very true. Very, very true. And just to kind of touch on what you said a little bit ago about not really knowing you had an ego.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know why it came out like that.
Yeah, like that's what I read.
Well, I am today.
We are on one today.
Apparently. But I'll say that I kind of, younger, growing up, it was more identified as like, you know, the skeletons in the closet or your inner demons and stuff like that. I wouldn't say until recently, within the past couple, not say 5 years, that I heard it used in that sense when talking about self and subconscious and paradigms and everything like that. Yeah.
So on the spectrum of like two aspects of the ego, because like you said, most people, we only understand like pride and all of that when we hear the word.
Yeah.
And it's a protective defense mechanism, a way to keep us safe. But there's also like the positive and there's the negative. And in the positive too, like we have to be grateful and thankful for the ego, because that is the space to me where we get those like nudges of when something is off, where it's like, okay, I've felt this before, and so it's like alarming you a little bit. Or like, have you ever been in a situation to where something is unsafe and you feel it in your body type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like an alarm goes off. To me,
Yeah.
that's your ego letting you know, like, we know what this is, and it's time to get yourself out of this situation.
I would say that those moments where I felt like that, it was moments I've never experienced, actually. Like, the moments when I really felt like what you're saying, like, like, your body's reacting really bad, it was moments where it's like, okay, something's wrong because I've never felt this emotion.
Yeah.
And so I know I'm in a really bad situation because I don't feel this emotion often. So go. Like, the initial is like, run. Like, I'm not joking. Like, when I'm feeling those kind of emotions, it must be really extreme. And so that was like one question I have for you guys is, when do you notice your ego versus your intuition? Because I feel like sometimes, one thing that I've really come to notice this past week, I've always noticed this, but like this week really hit me, this previous one, that I really am creating my reality. My life is not, like, my life, and this is just my preference on this, but I'm really creating my life. Life doesn't create me. Like, I'm not waiting for my life to just go. Like, yes, like, of course, there's situations where life just happens and miracles come into place. I believe that. But I also believe, like, your mind is really creating the life you want to experience. And so some people are like, oh, you gotta, positivity's bad. And I'm like, well, what kind of life do you want to live, So there's that part of it. But when I'm talking about the ego versus intuition, people will be like, oh, I knew that person didn't like me. I intuitively knew that this person didn't like me. It's like, well, did you? Or was it that your ego was telling you something based off previous situations that looked like this person, and now you've created that same reality again because there was indications of a person that reminds you of an older person from the past? So how do you differentiate the two?
I think for me, usually the ego has a reason. My ego is like, I don't like that person because they remind me of this, or they do this, or I have a justification. My intuition is usually like, that doesn't make any sense type of thing.
Do you think it's like a battle of the two in some ways? Because it's like your intuition may be like, okay, give the person a chance. And the ego is like, no. Does
your ego have that voice?
Right.
Honestly, no. I think like my ego is very reactionary. It doesn't give me time to think. It's an immediate reaction. For me, my ego is very reactive. It's not like a, let me just sit and pause on this. That's definitely more of like an internal, like, you're creating this. What if you do nothing? What happens? And whenever I've done nothing, I've identified, oh shit, that was my ego replaying a scenario again. But I would have, before, when I wasn't awakened, I would have called that an awakened, meaning being like aware that I'm doing responses that are my normal responses into certain situations. So if I wouldn't have reacted that way, then it's like, it's telling me that, okay, my ego's acting out. It's not an intuitive thing anymore. And so now I'm kind of like in this idea that I'm like, is it intuition or is it ego? Because my older self, before I came into like being aware of, hold up, look at it from an outside view, let's not do anything at all, let's see what happens. That situation didn't play out the same. And then I was like, oh shit, that was my ego. But if I would have been reactive and let that scenario play out, I would have said that was my intuition. So I'm like, how do so how do you differentiate?
So
because
for
I would have said
me specifically, someone may or may not agree. I don't care. This is whatever.
Yeah, it's based per person.
My intuition, it's actually really hard to explain. I came in this joint strong as hell, didn't I? So my intuition, it's so crazy. My intuition comes in saying things like you, or like if I'm talking to me, like
right.
the words I don't come up. You, that, like it's like third person.
Okay.
And also it will be majority of the time a way that I don't think on a regular basis.
That's good.
So that's how I know it's my intuition. And with my ego, that's all about familiarity. You inside me, like all of that, trying to protect you from something that you've been through before.
Yeah.
So it's that level of knowing who's talking upstairs.
Well, I also
thing.
like feel, just because I know you
It took a
outside,
while to get
but
there,
also
but-
like I know you now, like, so I, you know, you've had situations come up. I feel like you get signs though. People like give me a sign, and then you get like signs. So I know, like for you,
Oh, yeah.
you're not
I'm
like
not shy about asking for a sign.
No. So I feel like
Confirmation
for
at all.
you actually do pause for quite some time, even if you do know something into like this is just offset that I've known about you. That like one, you'll wait before you react, and two, then you need confirmation from a sign somewhere somehow that relates to it.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. It's definitely for different things. I wouldn't even think about that.
No, I'm just thinking about like how you were
But-
describing yourself and how your intuition plays, and I've noticed like when you talk to me how your intuition plays out. It always gives you a sign, like for you. Yeah.
And it's never wrong.
No.
But that's a good point though, because I feel like each of us, it takes a process and it takes time, because we have to understand ourselves and be familiar with how does our ego sound, how does it talk to us, to be able to know the difference of like, well, this is my intuition, what's the difference, but also why it's so important that all of the stuff we've covered up into this point of healing, because your ego is going to come from that place of being triggered, and the more healing you do, the less triggered you're going to be, which is the less your ego is even presenting itself or even tempting to go down that route. But that is a question a lot of people ask, like, well, how do I know if it's me or my ego? But it takes time, and it takes learning yourself, knowing yourself.
It's watching to see how things play out. Like if you just sit back and you don't react to your first response and you just watch it, I think like at least for me, when I've done that, I was like, ego. Click, check, you know, versus like reaction. So I mean, it's hard when you're reactive, like in the moment. It's easier said than done. But you can always, at least when you're becoming aware, you're noticing it faster. Because eventually you're going to get to the place where you're not so reactive. But like, don't be, like, I think sometimes I beat myself up. I'm like, damn, I reacted. But, you know, it's a process. Sometimes you do, you know.
So let me ask this. Ego in a reactive state versus letting your emotions flow while you're in the moment.
I think that if the situation allows, every situation that allows should be given a space. Because now I can, even though I feel like I want to react, it's resisting that impulse and sitting aside and saying, is this my ego or is this my intuition? Usually if it's your ego, like, I feel like it's going to subside after a time passes. Because your initial reaction is like, I need to get heard, I need to get seen, I need whatever, but I need to get this out. And if you give it some time, usually it's like, I can, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
But there is situations where you might be in immediate danger, and to me, I'm like, regardless, move.
Yes, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's going to be certain times when you don't have that time to sit and think, and I would just move and figure it out later. But in all the other cases where you do have, take the time.
Yeah, if we're talking about, like, I feel like a lot of times, at least for me, when I'm recognizing my triggers, it's with people. Because I feel like my people in my life are my mirror. So if I'm having situations, I have to really take my time with it. But I'm an individual that when I'm upset, like, I don't like to be reactive, because I've learned when I'm reactive, I regret it. Like, honestly, I usually regret my decision. And when I'm able to take a step back, think about it, and come at it, like, with the best intentions, like, what do I want out of it? Like, I have to ask myself, like, what do I really want out of this? Because I'm a person, if I'm fighting with you, this is just me as an individual. If I'm fighting with you, I'm only fighting to resolve it. I'm not fighting because I find fighting pleasurable. now this is based on your personality, because there are some people who just enjoy the banter of arguing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they like the back and forth. I am not one. I hate that. But it's really per person on how they like, everyone reacts different. I've just noticed for myself, I react best in the way that she mentioned, taking a step back, problem solving in my own mind. What do I really want out of this? What is the best thing I can bring to the table? And bring the way that I want to react, right? Because it's all about how we want to react and how we want someone else to feel. And the way that I want someone else to feel is the way I would want someone to treat me, like, you know, with respect. So I try to do that. I try.
Now, I will say, I'm not going to downplay the fact that that step right there is hard.
Yeah.
It's easier said than
I'm
done.
still trying. Like, there's not moments where I'm not reacting, but, like,
Yeah.
it's getting quicker for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does. But I just wanted to give that encouragement. Like, I understand that it is initially like everything in you wants to say whatever it wants to say or do whatever it wants to do
Yeah.
in that moment, but don't do it.
Yeah, I have a friend who was like, I like to mimic people when I'm arguing with them. I'm like,
That is so.
Oh, that's so childish.
I was like, that is just, I would never do that, because that fight is never gonna end unless you both
It's
laugh
gonna
at
end
it.
with somebody getting punched in the face.
Oh my god, you really like to take
Oh
it.
my gosh.
You really like to take it far, because I don't think I've ever mimicked anyone unless it was like later talking to myself. But I know certain people who can just, like, I see it, like, they love the back and forth, you know, they love the banter. And that's something to recognize. Like, what is your argument style, and how do you react in an argument, one, and then what is your, like, trigger when you've, like, really had it, or what is the reactive trigger look like? So then you know when it comes up, you know, like, it's easier to identify it.
Well, I can go ahead and squash that. In my personal opinion, I don't think there should be an argument style, because I don't think that there should be an argument.
But, you know, some people's arguments are, like, what I mean by argument style is, like, what do you like to argue? When you argue, what is your, like, for me, like I said, when I argue, I like to argue to problem solve. That's my type of arguing.
Yeah.
Some people like to argue to, like, because they like to argue. Some people argue because they're trying to identify you know, there's just different ways people do it. That's what I'm saying. What is your style? Like, identifying what you're, you know, I guess, like, that's
to
what
me,
I meant.
healthy communication does not involve an argument. We can disagree, and we can communicate the disagreement. But I'm not about to go, I was saying, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go back and forth in an argument setting. Like, that's just not something I'm going to engage in.
I check out once it gets to that. Honestly, once I get cut off and voices get raised, you just got me out. I'll be there,
but
but
see,
I'm
you know
not there.
that. But you know that about yourself. So, like, for some of the people listening, they haven't actually identified, like, what it is to them, and that's just my point, I guess.
But I think that's a huge thing. We've normalized arguing.
Yeah.
And it's not normal. It's not healthy, and it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be part of connections.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's a good point.
Yeah. Arguing is so last year.
I don't know who argued last year. Everyone was like, well,
Pre-COVID.
well. 2019.
You was arguing with yourself in the house. I don't know.
You
But
reached
no.
the level of insanity.
Yeah, I don't go back and forth with nobody about nothing.
Oh, child. Yeah, and it I've always been like that. I mean, I've said that in an episode before. I'm just non-confrontational person whatsoever. But what I found out,
I am very confrontational.
yeah, you are.
Yeah, because I want to make it better. Like, I don't see it as I guess in the way that you're putting it, like
You disagree with something.
no, like you were saying that you
She just cut me off.
I'm sorry.
I just got done talking about being cut off.
In her defense, I thought that you were finished as well.
I was okay.
But proceed.
I don't even remember what I was going to say no more.
I'm sorry.
I was poking fun. Seriously.
Oh, okay,
But, like,
okay.
I was
My
just
bad.
like, wow, I just said that.
I didn't mean to.
I don't know what I was gonna say. It's fine. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's fine. I did it first.
I'm that kind of driver, though.
Good to know.
Sure.
Not on the same road as Sid. Just like, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding.
I used to be the type to argue, for sure, because it was all that was around me, and I thought that was normal. I thought that's how you communicate. Mm-hmm. If you want to get your point across, just talk louder than the next person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then when I started to realize there's healthy communication and then there's unhealthy.
Yeah.
So,
I think I was thinking of the word you were saying before. I just can't remember it. I'm pretty sure it was like in the lines of the wording of debate, like when you're going just back and forth with someone having conversation. That's what I mean, because I really don't, like I said, I'm not arguing, like, again, an argument style. What I mean is, like, I'm not trying to argue with someone. I'm just trying to conclude and fix the situation. Mm-hmm. So I think in a way, like, yeah, I am confrontational, but it's not in a way because I want to argue. I just want to have the conversation so we can understand each other better and then move forward. So I'm like a problem solver, I guess.
Definitely solution.
Yeah, driven.
Like, it's almost like tunnel vision.
Because I never want to fight with someone because I want to fight.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just like,
really
so how do we move forward? What do you need? What do I need in that big honestly.
And we can meet those needs or we can't.
Exactly.
Point blank period. What do you guys think about this statement? Majority, I'm gonna probably venture to say 99% of arguments and fights and all of those are over feelings and not over facts. And what I mean by that, if you need me to clarify.
Go ahead. Go off, sis.
So let's say that I think the sky's blue, you think the sky's green, right? Mm-hmm. The only way that I'm going to really get into an engagement with you, or my ego is going to come in play, our egos are going back and forth, is if I care for you to agree with me that the sky is blue. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not really over the fact.
It's over the feeling.
It's over the feeling.
I would honestly 100% agree. And as I've been looking at like conversations I've had or escalations I've had with friends back and forth, I've noticed that a lot of times my arguments are over something I want from someone else that I actually should just be doing myself internally. So, but that's just come through, like, that's just something that, like, because I always say, like, I've been throughout my whole life very picky over my friends. It's not been just recent. It's always, like, I've never been a person that's just had a bunch of friends. No, like, if you do the kind of things that I do, then we're friends, because I want friends who are like-minded. Like, there's one thing in life I can choose, and it is my friends. My family, I illogical. Like, I really kind of can't. But my friends, I can. And so I've always noticed that people are, like, you should care about who's in your circle, who you trust, because they're gonna represent some part of you. Like, no, none of my friends are the same person, but there is a part of them that I see in myself, and that's why I like them. So it's like I've already identified those things and characteristics about my friends, so when I'm arguing with them, I've already recognized, okay, what I'm at. Like yesterday, my friend, this actually just happened yesterday, she bailed on me because her nails took too long, and I went all the way over to her house, and she lives far. She lives very far. And I drove all the way back home because she lives in Virginia, I live in Maryland. So it's like, it was a drive. And I was like, I could react. I'm just not going to speak for, like, I need 24 hours. And I just let it go because I was like, I can either get, like, really angry or I can get really mad. And the reason why I was mad, she's coming for it. She's coming for the pen. And the reason why I was so mad was because I gave her my time, but really I should have been putting that time into myself. So I can't really get mad. I mean, I could, but it's just not worth it. It's not going to go anywhere. So I was just like, okay. I just like go and I talked to her today because it's just like, what is the worth for me? Like, if it happened over and over again, I'd be like, yeah, you don't respect my time. But it doesn't happen all the time. And I just had to let it go. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I will say, a couple times, like, I'll be upset, especially things like that. I don't know why.
It's super reactive because you can't get your time back. That's the one thing in life you can't get back is your time. Yeah. So it's important.
So I feel that a lot. Even when friends would cancel plans on me for any reason, I would be personally offended.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
it's an abandonment attachment.
Huge.
Yeah.
Glad we worked through that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Now, I'm not saying someone should do it
But-
over and over again. That's just not okay to me.
No,
Like,
no.
yeah. there's a certain
But
limit.
just like once I hear what actually happened, it's like, oh, okay, we're back to being friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't know we weren't friends for a little bit, but it's fine. I fixed it.
Literally what you just said, you should have heard me the day before. It's fine. I don't need it. Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it, dude. I get it. Things happen. Like, that was the next day. Like, total switch up. But it's needing that space. But of course, the ego was reacting. I was abandoned. My time was wasted. I was mad.
Yeah.
But then I just, I went home, slept well. And then I woke up and I was like, I don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not like she does it all the time.
Right.
But then, do I have a reason to be annoyed? Yeah. But is it worth it? No. Like, she's still a good friend. It's fine. I just had to take it.
Yeah. I think it's always, everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the balance of making sure you know the integrity and character of the person you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So for a personal level of well, I can't get my time back. However, I can change my perspective and say everything happens on purpose, and what if you being out there saved you from being on the road and being in an accident that you didn't know about?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
So it's always shifting, but then also being mindful of this should not turn into a pattern either.
Right.
Yeah, it's noted, but let's move forward kind of thing.
Yes.
But the reason why I was so, in the moment, so angry was because my feelings were hurt. Simply. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely a feeling because we have to want to get to the level of reacting to the first place. And the only thing that makes me react is my feelings. Yeah. It's not my, of course, it's a both emotional and mental thing at the same time because I'm reacting. It's both are anger, but other than that, no, it's definitely not thought I'm gonna be angry. That's a little psycho, in my opinion. If you thought about it, if it wasn't a feeling and it was just a mind thing, I'm just gonna be really angry.
I choose violence.
Yeah, that's something else.
No, that's weird.
So let's break that down and recap from the whole entire journey that we've gone to this point, right? Mm-hmm. Because that goes so much deeper than just you felt like your feelings were hurt in that moment. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times our ego sets us up exactly like that, and our mind is playing this whole thing of I had somebody else do this to me before, or I remember another time I was abandoned or disrespected, and so you start feeling all of those feelings from all those previous times.
And you have a reason to be upset. Right. It's not this anger is coming from nowhere. I had a reason.
Yeah.
Right. And I was angry, and then in the real truth of it all, it's I'm vulnerable in that moment. And I think that's the thing is that your ego is very fragile.
Yeah.
It's so vulnerable. So that's why it's so reactive, because it's my feelings are hurt. I'm vulnerable right now, and you really hurt me. It's like that. But of course, we don't want to say that.
Which I think we should, because your feelings can absolutely be valid.
Yeah, we should.
Mm-hmm.
But taking action on those is not always valid.
Right. Right. This weekend, I could say for myself, I was you know what? Let me take a moment, be vulnerable, and it felt good.
Yeah, it does feel good being vulnerable.
It felt really good, and I just wish, more people...
Because more people appreciate that.
A lot of people appreciate it. I'm one of them.
What I've noticed, too, about groups, and I've done this experiment. A group of people are going to be together, especially women do this all the time, and they will not open up until that first person opens up and takes that leap of faith or steps out. And after that, it is full on, everybody starts sharing.
I think I'm usually the first one to do the leap of faith thing. I really have always been well, first it's a vibe, an energy feeling.
Right.
And then it's all right, I'm just going to be open. If you hurt me, that's on you. And then it's on me if I let you back in over and over and over again. I kind of have that mentality on it. Why put a stigma against everyone? They don't know me. I will say it's, of course, also an internal feeling sometimes where you're ooh, I like this person. Like, it just, like,
Yeah, sometimes
I don't know how to explain that. But it's like a thing where it's like that person. I love the quiet people too.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like, oh, I love the person in the corner. Let me go talk to them because I can work well. I work well with like very introverted people. Like works well. The extrovert, I'm like.
That's so funny. I feel like a chameleon.
You are.
Sometimes,
You definitely
like,
are. You definitely are.
Because I feel like the last like house party I went to, I felt all the vibes. Oh, I felt all the vibes, you know. But I was still like, hey, I'm Sydney. Hey, I'm Sydney. Hey, I like your hat. Like, just
the last
a
time,
little butterfly.
actually, it's so funny. The last time I went to a house party, I was not into it. I was not into the people. I was not into the situation. I felt honestly worried and concerned for some of the people there. So, disclaimer. But like, I was like, I'm just, and then everyone was coming up like something wrong, and I'm like, no. But my energy was just not in it. Like, and I'm normally the social butterfly, so I also think our personalities can change based on how we're perceiving a situation as like, is this inviting or is it not? I think everyone has the ability to be introverted and extroverted because in that moment you wouldn't even be like, is that Nina? Like I was not talking. I was like,
that's why while y'all at the house parties, I'm in the house. Let y'all do that.
No, I get so proud of me because I was not like that at all. I don't know. Not that long ago. 3, 4, 5 years ago. I don't know anymore. I was not like that. And I went to more parties back then. And
I went to any party.
I'd just be sitting and just wait for someone to talk to me, or I'd be sitting majority of the time. And so I'd be really happy that I could just dance
can walk
around the whole house like.
So
I digress.
Vulnerability.
Back to the ego things.
Yeah.
That was my ego just then.
I can walk around a room. Look at me now. No, going back to vulnerability, yeah, I think that's just a step in acknowledging yourself as like, okay, I'm vulnerable right now. Yeah. And like having that conversation with ourselves. And then being able to work through why. And I don't know, but in my previous situation I was talking about, I was only upset because it was something I wanted my time back, and I wanted to do something for me.
Yeah.
So I think that's really where it came down to. But it's that, I don't know if that was necessary. It's vulnerability with myself, because when I talked to her, she wouldn't know I was that upset.
Right.
But it takes that awareness to like, honestly, some people don't gotta know. You know, that I didn't do anything to say I was really upset with you. Like,
right.
But now I'm okay.
But I think on the flip side too, though, like,
I mean, I have said that.
Yeah.
I have said that to people, but
we have to take accountability because, like, I don't mean to throw your friend on the bus, but just because it's the example at hand, like, when we know that we've done something to, like, take somebody's time or something didn't pan out, like, making sure that we're like, hey, this is what happened, I apologize, you know, because sometimes people just be acting nonchalant like nothing happened, and then we're over here
oh no, she called me and texted me like 3 times.
Yeah.
I just couldn't answer because I was like, if I answer, I'm going to react. She's gonna say something.
Right.
And even today when we were talking,
you know your friend.
Yeah, I know my friend. And even today when she was bringing it up, I was like, I'm not trying to go down that road with you.
Yeah.
Because I know where this is going and I don't want to go there. So if so, I'm gonna get off the phone.
Right.
Like, I already know where we're steering. Yeah. We're not going down the road. So it's like you said, you got to know the people you know if they're your friends, but yeah, she knew.
Good, because some people act clueless. Like, oh, you was mad.
Oh my! I mean, a lot of times, like I said, we're learning through our examples in life. Right. So I'm not like to be like, and another friend, but one of my friends is kind of that he really unintentionally just doesn't feel a vibe. Right. Can't feel the energy in the room. Can't feel someone's mad at him. Yeah. I guess I was gifted in that when I know most of the time when people are upset. And for instance, we went out his one friend thought he was going to take him home. He takes him right back to the house. And the friend was mad and didn't say anything, but was looking at his one friend like, and I was like, ooh. So I told my friend, because I was like, this is not the time and place, for this conversation to happen. So I told him later, hey, I think you were supposed to take your friend home, and you just dropped him off, and I'm pretty sure he's like kind of annoyed that you did that. And then his other friend ended up telling him the same.
Yeah.
But again, like it didn't faze him. He didn't connect the dots in the moment. And then he apologized. So there's also the lack that sometimes you just aren't aware that you're upsetting someone or that you were supposed to do something a certain way.
Yeah, that's a fact. Because people just are, like I said, unaware.
Anyway.
So, with that, what do y'all think about self-sabotage in the realm of ego? How do those two come into play together?
Well, I think the self-sabotage is playing the narrative that reminds you of why you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? So, I like, which is like that's really what it's doing. It's helping you play your narrative of this is the reason why I need to protect myself. I think of like the ego as a wound, an open one at that point because of how vulnerable it is, and like your self-sabotage is the little scar on top that's trying to mend it. It's like, let's just put this on top. If you're trying to heal, if you expose this wound, it's just gonna scar. That's kind of how I take it, and it's like it is probably they're just together.
Good visualization. I never heard of that one before.
Thanks.
I like it. Thank you.
Yeah. That was what I was writing down before the podcast. Like, what does it mean to me? And I that's what came to my mind, like a scar, Band-Aid. Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I just piggyback on what you said. Since your ego is all about protection and keeping you safe from repeating offenses that you just don't like, self-sabotage, I feel, is that excuse that our subconscious comes up with, or actions to not take in order to keep that protective guard all up, all around, and stops you from reparenting.
Yeah.
For real. Major block. I mean, it still happens. My bad.
No.
But yeah, like reparenting is an ongoing thing, right? Self-sabotage, it comes up in different ways. So I don't think it's just a one all be all kind of thing, because when I was writing down examples of self-sabotage and how to know when we're in a self-sabotage cycle, it's the limit does not exist.
Yeah, I also think it's recognizing how do you self-sabotage yourself? For some people, it may be not speaking up, right? Not talking. For some, it may be the overthinking, replaying repetitive situations over and over and over again, and looking at all the ways it can go wrong. That's mine. But I think you have to identify what does self-sabotage look like. In honestly, I feel like the only way you even could identify it predominantly is looking at past situations where you've acknowledged yourself, where you were like, ooh, I kind of put this into future, because that's what we do. We're really repaying a past memory, a narrative, and then we play a future tense expectation of how it's gonna go bad. Which is like awful. Yeah. It's like that's what we do. Yeah.
And also, like, we keep ourselves in this comfortability zone, and so we can self-sabotage just to stay in the comfortability, because anything outside of that, it may be better or it may be worse, but either way, I don't know. At least with whatever I'm in, even though it may be trash, at least I know what to expect.
Right.
And people are comfortable with that.
I think like one way that I've been able to identify it is when I'm like, it's the acceptance piece for me. Like these these people don't like me, they think this about me, or I'm going to find something they don't like about me and attach myself to, this is what they don't like, and this is what they're going to do to me because they don't like me. I know that's bad. Like, that's kind of, it goes really far into it. It really takes it so extreme. Now I've recognized it's extreme, but in the time it felt so, like, intuitive to me. That's why I'm saying, like, was it, and that's why it was so hard to decipher even my self-sabotage, because I would think, oh man, like, this is my intuition kicking it. No, it's that you're scared that someone's going not to be accepting of you, or no, you're scared because you think someone doesn't approve of you in a certain way. And so, yeah, I was recognizing those things.
Yeah, because most time the people that you're creating this scenario about, like, they are not thinking about nothing that you're thinking about.
That's the craziest part.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what? But the only way that I've really been able to... Wait, what?
Sounded real Dude, Where's My Car?
I love that movie. I love that movie so much.
Wait, what?
Dude.
Wait, what does mine say? That's my favorite part.
Mine's the Chinese, where he keeps ordering and then the lady's like, and
then
my favorite. So, and then with self-sabotage.
and then.
That's literally how, like,
perfect.
you could really create self-sabotage. And then.
That's a fact. That's a good way to pull that together.
Right.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Really, like, that's how mine go. And I'm like, oh.
And you get wrapped into this spiral of, like, and then they're thinking this about me because and then.
And so I think, and then I think, oh God, this is bad. I'm gonna say, take a moment. There's water.
Oh God, we got water.
Dear, I'm thirsty. I am. We're laughing a lot.
Okay, so you're tired.
I'm not trying to say the words. So,
And then.
yeah.
Got to.
After that, so after that, I'm trying to remember even what I said.
Part 2.
Right.
The sequel.
That's what I was about to say. The sequel to what I said previously.
Wait.
The
Another
follow-
one.
Right, I know. Right.
To follow up on that.
I
Okay.
literally lost it.
I'm sorry.
The reference. What are we talking about?
So sad.
It's gone.
So I will say this though. So like 2 years ago, I was self-sabotaging myself from success. Like, I was fearful. I think that's where my self-sabotage was leading me, like, fear of what happens if I succeed. Because I felt like I was going to. And I'm like, but I don't know if I want to go down that road because my entire life will change and I don't know what will come with that. So it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Like, it was safer for me to just be like, limit myself and not fully be myself, because at least I knew what I was getting when I was downplaying myself.
I love that you said that, because I just spoke to someone who was saying that they wanted to ground themselves more, but they're afraid that if they ground themselves, that their relationship is going to become farther and farther and farther to the point where they're going to break up. And I had to so I told her, I was like, listen, this just sounds kind of like a narrative, and take a step back, because you don't know if you grow, that person may want to grow with you. You just, you don't know. For me, it showed up that whenever I got into a relationship, I would immediately think that the guy's playing me.
Yeah.
And I would play this narrative over and over again because of my previous pain. So it's like every time I meet a guy, I way overthink things, and I get, well, what's going to happen this, what's that? And I want the security from the guy that you have intentions with me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be left in a F-boy situation where you're playing with me. And I think it's valid, but at the same time, it is me also self-sabotaging myself. It's hard because in those situations, I feel like yes, it could be self-sabotage, but then in the same way, it's like, I did notice that, yes, it was self-sabotage, but then at the same time, it's your actions that were making me feel unsafe to react that way. So it was a little bit of both in that way, because like, well, because I also have recognized, like, with certain relationships, when someone does actions to make you feel safe, I wouldn't have been so triggered and then reacting with self-sabotage as my, like, replaying these scenarios of what these guys are like. So I think it's a little tricky in that way, especially when you're talking about a relationship with a romantic one at that, because it's the layer of, okay, it is self-sabotage because I am using a previous situation and noticing familiar steps, but then it's also the feeling of I don't feel safe because you're making actions to make me feel safe, right?
I think it's what you said, it's both, is the balance,
right?
Because that's where the ego comes into play. Our ego, and that's with romantic relationships, any situation, we want to know the outcome. Because if I know the outcome, I have this level of control.
Exactly.
And if you don't tell me what this is going to be, I don't have control over that. And now I freak out. And my ego is what's freaking out because my ego feels unsafe. But it's the balance of, I can still have my boundaries in place, and I can still know and be observant of, like, your actions matching your words, and know what feels comfortable for me before I even meet a person.
Yeah, and I think it was also that, like, in certain situations, not every single one, but one in particular, I was very vulnerable, probably the most vulnerable I ever was with someone about what I wanted, because it was a step that, like, I didn't really ever say, like, this is what I want, and, you know, I always got really nervous about that, because I didn't even know if I wanted a relationship myself. So I was there's the level of it where I was meeting people who I think matched me, and I think that's one thing that I recognize, you really do meet people who match your vibration a lot of times. But then it led me closer to knowing what I did want, so by the time I was vulnerable, that person wasn't being vulnerable. Their actions weren't aligning with their words. And so it made me feel unsafe because I was, like, getting upset that I'm being expressive and I'm being vulnerable. And 2, you're saying you're going to do something and you're not matching it. So now I got to break off. But, you know, that's, like, long story short of it. But it's interesting to see how your ego plays in terms of relationships, because that's how I was predominantly able to recognize mine.
I spent a lot of time looking back and identifying. I remember seeing, you know, here and there, I knew in my ways that I was self-sabotaging, but a lot of the key ones, like pivotal ones that I could just shift, that would be the difference for me, I didn't really know. Anyway, fear of failing. That was a big one. Being disorganized. That was huge. I never realized how nothing fruitful can be produced from a place of chaos. Like, that's huge. Like, and be in the physical, having clean space, something that not everywhere. Some people know exactly where everything is in a pile of chaos, and that's cool. But I had to recognize for myself that not having a clean space translates into just being chaotic up top as well. Those are the ways that I did. I found some others that, like, making yourself be busy.
That's a big thing.
That's a big thing. That's why I'm like, well, like, that's definitely something that I stopped last year, and then this year, like, stop, go kind of thing. Like, and then it's just hard if you're in those places where I feel like, personally, right now, I'm in this place where it's like a lot of things are changing for me upcoming. And it's just like, I don't want to, it's not like I don't want to do anything, but I don't want to and I think I mentioned this before, I don't want to overthink about everything that's happening. I just want to take it in strides because there's so many moving parts. And so I'm trying to find places and moments where I can just do what I gotta do. Like, just do what I gotta do. Like, one thing at a time. Like, just try to focus on that thing and get that done. Because when I'm thinking about all the things upcoming, I'm like, wow, my life is really gonna be shifting. And, like, I'm gonna have to have things in place. That's, like, all I care about. Do I have things in place? Like, and not in a perfectionism way, but just, like, what are the new like, since I'm so I'm moving. So while I'm just gonna say it, like, so because I'm moving, I'm like, what are the habits that are really important to me that, like, are mandatory for me to, like, discipline myself and keep myself. And I'm really excited. Not saying that I needed to move to do these things, but it's like I just don't have these, like, my circumstances around me anymore to hold me back, to not, you know, because I feel like I've tried to make changes here, but it's so hard when I'm living in such comfort. Like, it's so hard. Like, I have my family, I have my friends, I have a routine, and it's really hard for me to, like, that's not the reason why I'm moving, but bless you. I don't want to lose my train of thought. Okay. So it's like, I don't want to say that that's the reason why I'm moving, but I'm saying, like, now I can really discipline myself in a way where I don't have old habits or old things that are attaching itself to me here. Because I know I'm making changes as I go into my life, but especially the one about keeping yourself busy, that's just been hard. It's been so hard with everything going on.
Well, I think a lot of you being busy is, and just from
personal experience.
Yeah. Work.
Yeah,
That's,
for sure.
That's a very, very
demanding job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even when you're not there.
Yeah.
The promises that you kept to yourself, the promises that you want to keep with other people, it's just, yeah, you're freaking busy.
Yeah.
But I don't, if you think that that is definitely a way that you are self-sabotaging and you are not growing,
it's like, because you see people, I'm not saying that just me. I've even noticed this with people who've lived in a certain place their whole life. And then when they step into a new place, what about that really? Like, they didn't necessarily change. The only thing that changed was their environment, which made them believe they could change. That's my take on that.
Well, let's look at...
Because you've lived in a lot of places, so...
Yeah, but let's look at a plant, right? It can be in one particular pot and it can outgrow that. And the moment that you repot it, it can now expand. And sometimes it literally is the shift of environment.
I feel like that's what it is for me. And it's like, I know it at this point. Like, I know I have to shift my environment because I'm not growing anymore. It's like, I can grow, like, yes, I've grown very internally, but it's like all my circumstances around me are just repetitive at this point. And that I don't want anymore for myself.
Yeah, I think that that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
You have a different environment, different energy, different vibe, different people. Everything shifts.
Yeah. So, like, for me, it'll be a really great time. Like, it's not hard to discipline myself necessarily right now in terms of, like, okay, I have this to do and, like, checking it off and stuff. But I feel, like, boggled down by the environment itself. Like you said, like that potted plant. It's just like all the same things around me. Nothing's changing. And I feel like it's just like I'm climbing to change.
Yeah, and you have nowhere to expand currently.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Any other self-taught?
I think that was
Self-sabotage.
Sorry. So that's how I feel like I have self-sabotage, just staying put. Not knowing. I've been saying for years, like my friends know I've all been saying I've been wanting to move, but really never made the jump.
Yeah.
And it was out of comfort.
Yeah. I get that.
So I've definitely self-sabotaged for a couple years, I think.
We all do.
Yeah. But if not, I wouldn't be where I am now. So, you know, there's other ways that I internally had to grow to make the external, move, I think.
For sure. That's why we had this season set up the way that we did. You gotta do a whole bunch of internal work before being able to identify
Yeah.
these things and then further overcome them and adjust and everything. Are there any other self-sabotaging habits that you can think of? Pride.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we can make a blanket statement of keeping yourself with doing your same habits across the board,
That are
Just being
unhealthy.
comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, if your habits are great and they're leading to success, keep doing them. Like, don't
Right.
change them. That's not. But we're talking about, like you said, the things that are holding us back.
Yeah. And so if you find yourself, let's just put the cliche statement out there, if you find yourself getting the same results and you keep doing the same thing,
Insanity.
that's self-sabotage. So it's like, where can you make the adjustments? And so many times people just come up with excuse after excuse after excuse. That's exactly what self-sabotage looks like.
Yeah. That was a nice way to, just condense
Right.
an hour.
Well, we can condense it. What's comes to worst?
But
Right,
what
worst
I
comes
will
to
say
worst.
is, within you moving, right? Because I'm going to tie this all together, I promise. Within you moving from one space to another space in transition, you may be in a great space and you may be going to something great, but there's still going to be that grieving process of leaving behind the old thing. And I brought that up to say, on the next episode, we're going to go deeper into that.
I wasn't really expecting a grieving situation. I was just like, I'm so happy I'm moving. But yeah.
It comes
Wow,
that part.
I really want to, retort a little bit, but that'll just wait for another 2 weeks. Lucky for y'all. So, yeah, we need to start wrapping this up. Our challenge last week. May you remind the people.
Yeah, so it
What
was.
it was.
So the challenge was to do one habit throughout the week, every day.
Yeah.
It could have been as small as drinking water or whatever. Mine wasn't. I changed mine. It's not drinking water anymore.
What was yours?
So I changed it to doing the same meditation for the whole week to see how I'd feel after.
How'd you feel?
I feel great. I sent it to you. It was the You Are Life Itself.
Yeah.
Muji?
Yeah, I listened to that every single day and see how I felt.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I felt good.
I kind of took it back to our first episode, and I turned my phone off. I turned it off at bedtime. I cannot remember the last time I ever did that. Like, off. Like, when's the last time you turned your phone off? Not restart it, but, like, actually turn it off to keep it off.
Yeah, I don't think.
Like, do you mean like off all day? Or just in the morning? Or
I just said bedtime.
just at bedtime? Honestly, a lot. I don't use my phone that much unless it's like, I don't really like the phone.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it was a stepping stone for me. Like, dang. I thought that was going to be a lot more touching.
The only,
I think
you ruined my special moment.
I thought it was admirable.
But yeah, I turned my phone off a nice amount of time before I went to sleep, and I would not turn it back on until I was done with my morning meditation and stretching.
Do you think you dreamt more? Because they say when you turn your phone off earlier, you dream more. Do you feel like you dreamt more? No?
She doesn't dream that much.
It was, no, I only get,
I've noticed that.
only get messages and dreams now.
Okay. I don't know. I noticed whenever I stopped turning off when my phone was never on. Because the only time my phone's really on is if I'm listening to like one of those sleep meditations all throughout the night that like program you a certain way.
That's me every night.
Yeah. So in that way, yeah, my phone's been on, but I don't do that all the time. So I would say when I don't do that, I'm dreaming. But because I have that sleep meditation, I don't really dream as often if I'm doing that. So,
yeah, no, I haven't traveled anywhere recently. Well, I take that back. But we can get into that on a totally different episode. Not the next one. It's coming. But, you know, I don't want to give out an actual number because we've been carrying some stuff on.
We need one future episode to just say all the things that we put off for all these episodes. This is the episode. That's what we gotta start with.
we need to like write this down.
No, we already have the episode planned.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So.
Inty ways.
Wait, what was yours?
So I don't think I did the one that I was supposed to do, which was like reading more.
Yeah, that was.
I still gotta get back on that. But I was like doing these different types of meditations, and I did something similar where it was like I was staying to a particular path of meditations to see how I felt pretty much. That's funny because we didn't say that to each other.
No, but we just did it. Yeah. I was really happy because I feel like it helped. I love that. So yeah, I feel like it helped me with this upcoming week because since it's a 2-week, I did it the week prior to this one, and I'm like, wow, if it wasn't for that meditation, I would have been hella reactive over this previous week. I would have been hella reactive. And I listened to this letting go meditation at night. And you know how I said you should listen to the meditation before you go to sleep? Dude, I kid you not. In the meditation, like, you can handle it kind of, so like something bad happened to my car. And, you know, I really feel like it had to do with that meditation. I really do. And I didn't even take my own advice. I really didn't take my own advice. Because I was like, shit, it was the meditation. It wasn't them. I've really been believing that I really, like, my mind is, like, I really am creating my life. And I really feel like that fucking meditation, I really believe that meditation created my car situation. I'm not joking.
Speaking of that last conversation, I decided to do a meditation one morning. And why did I choose the same freaking meditation that Tawny was talking about?
The love
now
one?
Think of someone that you need to forgive and send them love. I was like, fuck, Tawny, man.
And it comes out of nowhere because you be all in the zone and you be in the love vibes, right? And they be like someone that you love and you like, I got that, yeah, someone love.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they get you with the other part. You're
That's
like,
think of someone that you need to extend your forgiveness to.
And then you're like, I did not sign up for this.
Like, I could just we
really need to
what?
We need to put this. Did we put this on our site? This meditation in particular.
The one I'm talking about.
Yeah, because you did it, so you should have the link. You should put it out there just so other people can.
Oh yeah, we should just throw it in there.
Yeah, maybe.
But you don't know when we're gonna throw it in there, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, dang. So I really do believe that surrender, letting go one created my car situation. But I'm very thankful for the one from the previous week.
Who knows? It could get you a new car.
Well, and the thing is too, though.
That's true. It's creating new situations. Thank you. I'm handling it wonderfully. I actually am. Side note, I've handled this situation really well.
We look at
ego came out. I'm handling this great.
We look at it in the negative aspect, but the same way when people ask for oh, give me strength, and then you get in a situation where you need strength.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, to build.
But I thought it was funny that I said we should really listen to these meditations to see what happens. And I tried to listen to it for a second, and I woke up out of bed it was you. It was you. You did this to me. You said I could handle any situation and overcome it. Damn it. That's literally what it said. And I was like, it was you.
And then you got all the situations to overcome.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset. I wasn't ready. I'm handling it well, but would I rather not have handled it?
But that was your meditation. You handled it well.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's the thing. That meditation prepared me for the second meditation. Anyway.
Don't send me those girls.
I feel like I'm in an inception, like another thing I do. Like, are you in reality? I don't know. It's just creating all these realities.
My goodness.
So, the challenge
for this week. Thank you, Tony.
This was a fun one.
It was.
We made light of a very heavy topic, just so you guys
That's
know.
great. Because we were going to talk about this at our
Serious.
surprise.
Well, the next week it probably will. Oh, maybe not. We'll see.
We're here for
Can't
your
get
dark
it in.
humor, though.
Which one?
What?
For next week,
Who's dark humor?
Mine.
Oh, okay, yours. I was like, I don't have dark humor.
I
kinda
just
like
have really
goofy.
sarcastic.
Well, that's rude.
No, I'm goofy, not you.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying
No, I'm saying-
goofy that have dark humor.
No, I'm saying your humor's like probably darker. Mine's probably like
Gotcha.
goofy. Yeah.
Because I was like, I have dark humor. That's goofy. I'm like, oh.
Oh.
No,
I see how
heard-
you heard it.
No, I heard Nina. That's why I was like,
My ego was like,
right,
she calls you goofy.
right.
I'm goofy.
Anyways,
I can't believe I just did
back
that.
to
I'm sorry, guys. It's my fault.
We all tired.
yes. So
The challenge.
the challenge for this episode is to simply but intentionally be mindful. What?
Nothing.
Be mindful and observe where your ego is coming into play. Where are you being triggered? How is certain conversations or situations making you feel or respond? And being mindful of, give yourself that space to take a step back and evaluate. I'm not asking you to do anything or change anything this week. Simply observe.
And journal it if you must. If you want to double back, see what kind of growth you had. Please.
What is going on?
I don't know. I'm about to cry because I'm holding back laughter the whole time you were talking just now. I don't know where it's coming from.
Delirious.
But I'm just, it's time to go. We had a great time. Being vulnerable with you all. Thank you for joining and sticking to the end of this. Sticking around. There we go. Whew, Nina, can you fix that a little bit for me?
Edit that up a little.
Please help me.
Chop
Okay.
and screw.
Ooh, help it, Jesus.
I thought you were talking about my face.
I thought that's what
I'm
you
just
meant
smiling
too
at the-
originally.
I was like, I am smiling at this camera. Like, what else do you want me to do? Because the other times haven't been that great. Like, so I was like, this is.
It was a couple times. I don't know if you peeped, but like, I was just like smiling when you were talking about something serious.
Yeah.
Because you would just do this.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Or this. And I'm like, it looks like she's picking up her nose. And I would just look at you and then like try not to look at the camera.
It's a work in progress. I'm not used to being video recorded. So.
But it was like while you were talking about something very serious and vulnerable for you, and I'm just like,
Maybe that's the thing I do. Like, I touch my face when I'm vulnerable. I don't know.
It's okay. But
Did we
I just
wrap
wanted-
up the episode? Or
Oh, dear
where are we
God.
at with that?
No. Thank you, lovely people, for sticking around this long. We truly, truly appreciate you. Do not forget to like, subscribe, share.
Watch us on YouTube.
Yes, all of this will be unedited.
Where we
And
are.
listen to the audio on Spotify.
The edited version.
Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
Edited version. But YouTube, all unedited.
As you see.
Exactly. So, thank you. This is Highness Talk. I'm Sydney,
I'm Tani.
I'm Nina.
and we will see you next time.
Toodaloo.
And we will have it more together.
Will we though?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry.
I kind of liked it.